Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. Tonight, America, we have some tough choices to face. Our economic day of reckoning is fast approaching. What are we going to do about it? Well, let's start with the truth. Remember this? Well, it didn't actually say anger there, but I know the White House now is trying to, I read in the paper today, trying to focus on the anger and capture that anger. What happened to hope here? You remember when people actually believed that this was hope? Well, later on in the program, I'm going to show you a copy of my painting. I just made a painting myself. It's one of 3 of a set. The first one is hope, and I'll show it to you. It's real hope. Real hope. I'll give you a hint. It has something to do with the truth. Come on, let's delve into it. Last night, I had one of the strangest experiences in my life. I had dinner, actually, with one of the richest men in the world. Yeah, I mean, it's just the way I roll. No, actually, it's not, but it's just, I say that because it mortifies my children. You know what? Yeah, it's the way I roll. My kids are mortified. In fact, it's a great disciplinary technique. If they ever are misbehaving, you just say to them, hey, you know what? You keep that up, and I'm going to go to the mall, and I'm going to take you with me. And right in the middle of the mall, I'm going to go, They won't misbehave. Anyway, I'm off subject. If you think I'm gloom and doom, the conversation that I had last night made me look like the poster child for Pollyanna syndrome. This guy is a very well-respected man in the business world. I mean, I think he's kind of the Rockefeller of our day in a way. At one point at the meal, I said, so, you know, what do you think? And he did this, honestly. Didn't give me a lot of hope. He went, I mean, it's done. What? We're done. I'm like, okay, no. The reason why he felt this way, I found out later in the meal, is because he hasn't seen anybody lead the way. There's not anybody that he sees that has a spine to at least even address the things that are really happening in America. Well, you know what? He may be right about that, but he doesn't know you. I agree with him that I haven't seen a politician do a tough thing. I haven't seen a politician with an actual spine, you know, and do what's in favor of what is the right thing instead of just the politically expedient thing. Not only are the politicians in Washington not doing the tough thing, they're not asking the tough questions, they don't understand the tough problems, and they're not giving you any kind of tough answers or information. Tonight, I'm going to. Here's the tough truth that America, we have to face. First of all, we're not past the worst of this. It's still coming. What you're seeing right now is an illusion, and it's going to be revealed sooner or later. The small fixes that you might think we could make, the small fixes that, you know, you and I have grown up seeing politicians do, they're not going to work anymore. Prepare for a time of great change. I mean, dramatic things have to be done. But the good news is, if somebody just tells you the truth, we'll make it. We'll be okay. Because I believe that the average American, when they really know the truth, if they're approached in a reasonable way, they'll say, you know what? I'll suffer. I'll do what my grandparents did to be able to have a future of freedom for my children. So what do we have to do right now? 1, cut taxes and share the burden. I'll explain this in a second, but I mean, how many times do we need to see evidence that this actually works? You'll never see it in the newspaper. No. We saw it in the Roaring '20s with Harding and Coolidge. That came from the Depression of 1920. We told you about that last week. How did that happen? How come we never learned about that in school? We saw it again with Reagan in the 1980s, and we saw it in 2003 with the Bush tax cuts. Did you know that after the Bush tax cuts, we had 46 straight months of growth? Of course you didn't. Progressives don't want you to know that, and conservatives stink on ice on actually making this case to America. It's not what everybody wants to hear, but share the burden has to happen. The low earners who don't pay anything now are going to have to pay. And you know what? The real problem on selling this is, forget about those people. The people who are now getting money from the government. There's no more handouts. There's no such thing as a free lunch. People in this country have been convinced by our politicians that you have a right to someone else's money. You don't. The world is a competitive place. And if you start taking money away from people in New Jersey, they're going to do what they've done in New Jersey. New Jersey lost $70 billion in wealth because people got up and said, I'm moving to someplace like Texas where they're not going to take my money. If the United States government doesn't make us competitive for companies in the rest of the world, they're just going to continue to go to someplace like Singapore or China. We're not competitive. If you want to create jobs, you must cut taxes. Second thing, and this is where it always gets dicey. I mean, we're not talking about cutting spending, just the bridges to nowhere and the turtle tunnels and the earmarks. No, no, no. Those have to go. That's not even a thought. We're talking dramatic spending cuts. This is something that Reagan couldn't even do. You have to go back again to Coolidge and Harding to find the kind of reduction in government services that I think we need. We're not talking about freezing a tiny slice of the budget that Obama just did. It sounds good in a speech, but it's not going to get us anywhere. Let me show you a rough breakdown of the federal budget. Roughly 17% is included in the spending freeze, okay? This is the frozen amount here. This is Social Security. That's not frozen. Medicare, Medicaid, other mandatory programs from here to here, you can't touch anything. Here's the net interest. Here's your disaster cost. This is what the discretionary, this is the turtle tunnels here. This is frozen. That's 83%, from here to here, 83% to balloon out of control. All of the non-frozen areas are going to increase. What about the $787 billion we borrowed for the stimulus? The interest on our debt alone will send us into a tailspin in the coming years. According to government estimates, for 2011, our net interest on our federal debt is roughly $250 billion. By 2016, it's $627. That's more than 13% of our budget. The total budget. In Common Sense, you have a copy of Common Sense? In Common Sense last year, this was #1 for, I don't even know, 20 weeks. This I wrote last summer, and I talked about it. And this is really fascinating to me. By 2019, annual interest payments on the debt will balloon to a projected $806 billion. It works just the way that it works with your credit cards. That $806 billion is more than what it cost us last year to fund the entire Department of Defense, Veterans Affairs, the Department of Transportation, and the State Department combined. Do you have it? We don't have this money. Department of Defense, Veterans Affairs, Department of Transportation, State Department. All of that combined just for interest. Now, when I wrote this last June, it was $806 billion. Today, not even a year later, it's now projected to be $900 billion. More than that. Someone has to tell you the truth. These things are out of control. Medicare, Medicaid, out of control. Social Security, out of money. There is no lockbox. There never has been one. When Social Security started, age expectancy for the average man was 58. It was 62 for women. Well, wait a minute. When did benefits come in? At 65. Got it? SSI, Social Security insurance. This thing was designed. Nobody was supposed to get it, just a few who actually lucked out and lived long beyond life expectancy. So if you look at this, men would get their benefits at 75 today. Women would get it at 80 if it was designed to be the way that FDR originally put it together. Now, who in Washington has the stones to step forward and say, you're not getting Social Security until you're 80? Nobody. Nobody. Unless they just want to tell you the truth. They want minimum wage to be a slave to inflation. Well, how about making Social Security a slave to lifespans of Americans? And don't worry, because if health care passes, the life expectancy should start dropping very quickly. Maybe we get down to 58 before you start getting money. Does anybody have the stones to convince the country that it is addicted to government-free stuff and we've got to break the habit? Of course, the first step, solving the problem, is admitting we have one. I'm a recovering alcoholic. We got to admit it first. I don't think we've actually done that. Do we have a problem?
We can see clearly now that the steps my administration is taking are making a difference, blunting the worst of this recession and helping to bring about its conclusion.
I got news for you, America. We are not behind it. It's not. The past is, we're not past the worst. What you need to know right now is you need somebody not to sugarcoat things for you. You're not a kid. You need to know that somebody's going to give you the truth, the hard truth. What's coming our way is not good. What's coming our way is currently unfolding in Greece, in Spain, in Europe. You watch, because we're on the list, America. By the end of the term of this president, America will understand our financial future. No spending, no tricks are going to fix it this time. You're going to feel it, every single one of us, firsthand. And you don't want to wait for that moment.